This is Nigeria, where anything can happen. Foundation. Time out with Elo David. You're welcome again to this program. I want to say that congratulations, those of us who have lived, who are Nigerians, who are the 23rd of December message, because it's not easy to be alive in Nigeria at a time like this. We've had 8 years of terrible government, thinking that the worst, not knowing that we are stepping into another years again. I pray another years of serious crisis. The kind of hardship we're having now is unbelievable. You'll be able to see the degree of poverty in Nigeria by the recent stampede that have been taking place in different parts of the country. Imagine in Ibadan, it was just a gift where the former wife of the for that the former wife of the traditional ruler to do some charity work by giving out gifts. I think it was well intended to help people. In the history of Nigeria, at least, worst Christmas chicken is going for close to 35,000, 25,000, 40,000. I never knew I would be alive where they are selling chicken for 40,000. You know, we're not talking about goats now, we're talking about chicken. So you see how terrible things are. And the sad part of it is that it is just the citizens of Nigeria, I mean, it's just the ordinary citizens, not the political class, that seems to be going through this pain. The elected officials are not going through it. The senator, those in the presidency, the governors, House of Assembly, they don't know what is called hardship at all. So they are living extremely well. In fact, they are living an extravagant life. Of recent, I was made to understand that they are using about 6.5 billion to renovate the house of the president and also vice president. I just pray that those things are not correct, because if somebody is thinking of renovating the house of the president for 6-point-something billion in the midst of so much hardship, then this is arrant wickedness. To me, that is wickedness of the highest order. Is that a priority for now? This is not a marketplace where people go every day. So what are they renovating? What are they renovating actually? So every avenue they want to use every legitimate avenue to collect money. The scarce resources which they say they don't have, they want to spend it on frivolous things that don't add any value, things that are of no importance. So that's the situation of things we have right now in the country. Things are extremely on the wrong side. Things are extremely bad. And this lady decided on her own that she wants to present gifts to the less privileged. And she's, just like I said, she used to be from the royal family, but I'm not sure she's still married to royalty. And so she organized the event, and she wants to give 5,000 naira each to the participants, those who win 5,000 naira each. You see how deprived and spent 2,000, 3,000 just to go and collect 5,000 naira. And when they got there, the crowd was amazing. It's so sad. They were just thinking that they would just want to collect this 5,000 naira that they would spend for Christmas and New Year. Married men, children, people carrying their children, men backing their children, they all came there to the gathering. And sadly enough, that was when there was this stampede. As at the last count, I think about 58 people have died. They were killed just because they want to collect 5,000 naira each. So you'll be able to have an understanding of the level of poverty which Nigerians are going through at the moment. And there was one also that took place in Anambra State or so. So the politicians have made up their minds to make Nigerians extremely poor, to turn Nigerians to animals. So anytime they can use bag of rice for 500 people, a bag of garri for 1,000 people, to lower the cost of bribery during election. You see how terrible it is. So please bear with us. We keep having network failure. So it's very sad. It's a very sad situation. It's a day of mourning. So we have a lot of people that are dead, a lot of them. So politicians are busy distributing rice across Nigeria. And you see thousands of people going to queue, and at the end of the day, they stampede, and most of them died. It's quite bad. And to think of the fact that there's a government in place who believes that they are doing, what do you call it now? They are trying to rejig the economy. Things are extremely bad. The cost of naira to $1 is unimaginable. The cost of foodstuffs, the cost of diesel, the cost of fuel, the cost of living in Nigeria is terrible. It's a very bleak Christmas. A lot of people have lost their children. A lot of families have lost their brothers, their sisters, their siblings, their children. It's quite sad. It's quite sad. And to me alone, there seems to be the reaction even from those in government. It doesn't show actually that they care that much. The life of an ordinary Nigerian does not make any difference. Does not make any difference. These are people that want to be leaders by all means. And going to 2 years now, there's nothing to show for it. Instead, they've imposed so much poverty. You can't even protest against hunger. When you protest, it's a treasonable offense. And these were people who also were protesting in their time. So Nigerians, I think what Nigerians are going through right now is almost the same thing that the Israelis were going through in the land of Egypt when Moses was born. After the death of when Moses was born, during that era, the life of Nigerians is unbelievable hard. I don't think since independence Nigerians have found themselves in this kind of situation. They tell you they want to revamp the economy, they want to reform the economy, but the hardship that comes from the reformation is only felt by the ordinary Nigerians on the street. Why those in government don't feel it? They still live large, very, very large. You can see it by their actions, by their attitude. If you look at most of the houses you see around now, what the politicians are investing on is properties. These politicians keep buying properties and properties. There's a place around Ikeja, Ojodu, Ikeja, within those houses, where the House of Rep and Senator Representative District have almost bought the whole property in the area. So the politicians are getting richer, while the ordinary citizens are suffering. They tell you the economy is being reformed. And so the reformation of the economy is only affecting the ordinary citizens in the street. People are suffering. I don't know what Nigerians have done to deserve this kind of punishment. This is 2 years. It's not even up to the 4 years yet. And yet, it's amazing. It's going to 2 years of being in hell under this government. 2 years of extreme hardship. 2 years of suffering. 2 years of poverty. 2 years, they tell you they want to revamp the economy, but what we are seeing now is insensitivity. They are not sensitive to the plight of the people. Even when they tell you that they want to bring relief materials, they want to bring aids to the people, they themselves will steal it. They have Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, money that is budgeted to that ministry, they themselves will steal it. So the ordinary man in the street doesn't benefit anything. And in the first place, the current state of Nigerian economy, Nigerians did not contribute to it. It's all about leadership. The massive debt that Nigeria is owing now was owed by Buhari. The Buhari regime, they borrowed and borrowed. In fact, they borrowed from everywhere. It got to a stage they even wanted to borrow from Benin Republic. They want to borrow from Niger. Anywhere they see money, they borrow. They borrowed and left us a huge amount of debt. And funny enough, this government came in, and the borrowing has continued. So you find out that it's all about themselves. There is no difference. It's just getting worse. There's no difference between this government and the previous government. Things are just getting extremely worse. The size of government is getting enlarged. And all of each of those ones, they're having their own secretary, their own PA. So the cost of governance himself is large, very, very large. And this is the area where the boys are settled. The boys are settled, and the rest, that they can have their own PA to the PA, SA to the SA. The commissioners have increased, number of commissioners have increased. Also, the suffering has increased because money is budgeted towards that area. And I know the system would work. And sadly enough, the IMF and the World Bank, they are agents of the world to ensure that Africa does not develop. There's no way African companies are closing down. How do we industrialize? Companies are closing down because of cost of labor, because of cost of energy. Reform the economy. There's no country that can ever industrialize without power. Without power. Power is a major component in the school or in the field of industrialization. And the only way for this economy to be sound, we have to industrialize. We have to make sure that we are an exporting country. Because it is now, we don't export, we only import. We're a consuming nation, and that's the cause of our poverty. Because we consume everything. We do not produce nothing, completely nothing. So as it is now, the only business that is working in Nigeria is the business of politics. Of politics. And the business of politics is about taking money, borrowing money. It has nothing to do with real governance. So if this government remains in power, for example, for the next 50 years, there's nothing that will come out of it. You see, because there's no use running on the wrong road. When you're on the wrong road, it doesn't matter the speed you take, you will never get to your destination. And so the problem we are having is that we are on the wrong road. Effort must be made to see that we are a producing nation, that we are able to produce. We must get to the extent where at least 50 to 60% of what we consume, we produce it themselves. And the truth is that Nigeria could be a producing nation. Nigeria could be. We can. We are the Easterners. These are wonderful people who God has gifted in the realm of production. Produce our own shoes, our own clothes, wristwatches. So what we expect is for there to be a blanket ban on most of these goods. It's not just for you to increase fuel and you think that is all for development. It's not. It doesn't go anywhere at all. If there's going to be a reform, there must be a reform on the kind of things we consume. The kind of things we consume. Jewelries, imported jewelries, imported shoes, imported wristwatches, imported expensive imported cars. We keep importing. And these things we're importing them with dollars. So it's impossible for you to develop. I say it again and again. And I tell you that if this government that we have today right now remain in power for the next 50 years, nothing good will come out of it because you're on the wrong road. So what we need to do is to make it possible for us to produce. That is the area they're supposed to focus on. If the rate of our production is far more than what we consume, we'll begin to have a stable economy, a stable naira. As it is now, the only thing that gives us foreign exchange in this country is dollar. Our budget is based is oil. Coal and the rest were our major place. Sorry, we keep having network failure. Keep off. We have gold in Nigeria. We have uranium in. Ought to think about must be active. As it is now, they left the area of gold, stone, uranium, and the rest. They left it in the hand of the criminals, the bandits. You don't look. Let me tell you something. There are areas in this country right now where we have a lot of Chinese. What do? They try to mine for precious stone, as we are talking right now. Mine. So they are mining for precious stone. These are terrible areas. We keep mining, but it doesn't reflect on our economy because it has nothing to do with the economy. That is left in private hands, surrounded by thugs and criminals. These are the areas we talk about reform. These are the areas. As we are talking right now, they still steal oil. There's massive corruption in the oil sector. Massive corruption. Close to 20% of our is being stolen. And I wonder how When they say they steal oil, they bring vessels. I'm talking about vessels, cruise, you know, you know, and it's very funny. Are you telling me that the Navy can't track them? Is it possible for a foreign company to come to Nigeria to do oil bunkering and steal oil and sail out of the water of Nigeria without the Navy, without the security agents getting them? Those things, nobody believes there. Just like what Aliche said. You believe this, you believe anything. No Nigerians believe them. You see, what we are just praying for right now is that God will send us a Redeemer one day. Because the set of politicians we have today, I see them as politicians who can't save this country. There's a popular saying that Jesus made. He said, "He that is without sin, let him cast the first stone." You know, so I want to say again, making reference to that statement, any Nigerian politician that has been in government since 1919, that is without corruption, that is not corrupt, that does not have the baggage of corrupt goods around him, should throw the first stone. Should throw the first stone. And even, you know, it's very sad. It's really, really unfortunate. Even those of them that were accused of EFCC, you see, what they do is this, Nigerian politicians. They steal so much. At the end of the day, the FCCC chairman, very active, wants to liberate Nigeria by all means. I look at the AFCC chairman, I begin to laugh because he will be frustrated from office. There's no EFCC chairman that has ever succeeded. They've all been frustrated. It's not as if they don't know what to do. They know what to do, but the environment is not conducive for them to do what they ought to do to stop corruption. The other day, we have heard of a governor that diverted 1.3 trillion. We heard of the former governor of Kogi State, for example, that was accused of stealing 100 billion. You know, and what did they do? He got arrested, went to court, took him to cell, remanded himself for 1 week, and now he's out living large. So how many politicians, how many governors that have been arrested that are spending time in Kirikiri right now for stealing? We don't have one governor that is in, with all they've stolen. You know, so there's a gang up within the political class. What they try to do is to make a fool of the system. They try to create an impression that they are fighting corruption. They're not fighting any corruption. Sorry, again, it's network. Somebody is accused of stealing 100 billion naira. You know, and at the end of the day, he goes to court, gave him 500 million naira for bail, and he goes home, and the case will be on. The case will be on for the next 20, 30 years. Around the governor is about 15 years now. He will still be handling the case. The case will still be in court while it's almost 80 years. That is the corruption we are fighting in Nigeria. It's a showbiz corruption. There's showbiz fighting. They are not fighting the corruption to get results. That's one of the things we're supposed to do, reforming the legal system. Corruption cases is not supposed to be more than 2 months. And also, before the EFCC make any arrest, they must have concluded their investigation. They have the facts. You know, and when they go to the court, they present the facts. Then the judge is supposed to act based on the facts that they presented. You know, but again, the situation where the EFCC will arrest, then go and investigate, arrest, release, then go and investigate. These things are not. We are not fighting corruption. They are punishing Nigerians. We were thinking that this government will be able to do something. But so far we have seen that it's not possible. It's not possible. Because he that is without sin, let him actually cast the first stone. Let him cast the first stone. So corruption is the bane of our crisis. Corruption is the mother of our crisis. Corruption is at the center of the crisis of Nigeria. You know, and corruption is not getting reduced. Corruption is getting worse. Worse, because you see, we have lawyers and the rest that are there. You know, so what are they doing? They're on standby. You're arrested for corruption cases. They go to court. It's a bailable offense. They bail you. You know, and at the end of the day, you will just be there trying to handle the corruption case. You know, they will discuss the issue again and again. Nothing comes out of it. Everybody knows that this thing is a fluke. This thing is deception. Why Nigerians are suffering? Now, the money we are talking about that we don't have, it is the same politicians that stole the money. You know, and the sad part of it is that Nigerians have one of the worst form of politicians on earth. Because you see, you know, my friend's mother used to say something many years ago when we were growing up. He said it is better to burn a thief than to burn a fool. Because before they catch a thief, he must have stolen and added to the family. steal and enrich his family before he's caught. But the fool will continue to sell and sell and sell and sell, and nearly sell everything about the family before he finally dies. So even if he's still alive, it will have been better than he's dead. So that's Nigerian politicians. We keep stealing money, we send them abroad. Europe, Asia, different countries right now, they house our money. So that's the kind of politicians we have. We have politicians who have been in politics now for like 30 years, and for the past 30 years, they've been stealing money. They are not yet true. And so you begin to wonder, when are they going to be relaxed and begin to enjoy the money they are stealing? It's a curse that the devil has placed upon them. It's a curse placed by the devil upon Nigerian politicians, that they will just be stealing. You go to their houses, they have raw dollars in billions. You go to the government, you go to the bank, they have dollars, millions of dollars in various accounts. My friend in the US called me the other day and said, Dave, I'm shocked that Nigeria wants to borrow money. You know, that in the bank account of some Nigerians in the US here where he stays, that they have enough money to offset the Nigerian debt. That's why the World Bank will not think about giving Nigeria any relief. No, they won't. Because you see, the money they have there in bank abroad can pay off the entire debt that Nigeria is owing. One man. You know, so it's a pathetic case. You know, and Nigerians are under bondage. Nigerians are suffering. And the issue right now is that who will deliver this country from this level of wickedness by our politicians? Things are getting out of hand, you know, and it's impossible for us to arrive at anything reasonable. Because we run a system and the people in government who are hell-bent on saying that they loot Nigeria dry. The stealing is amazing. People are appointed ministers, and in 6 months they are multimillionaires. People are elected into local governments, they are already building estates. You know, and I believe so much that is yet to come. The worst is yet to come. Except something is done to fix the issue of corruption, we will continue to have this evil leadership I'm talking about. The evil leadership resistance, this system that we are now. The Nigerian politicians are not prepared to stop corruption. In fact, everybody is fighting to be in a position where he can go ahead and loot more of the treasury. It's about looting. And the average Nigerian, the young ones, they have lost hope in the system. You know, when we are growing up, we keep hearing, one was just 4 years old when he became president, when he became head of state of Nigeria. How old was Muhammadu Buhari when he became first secretary, when he first became military head of state? How old was Babangida when he became military head of state? But today you have Nigerians that are 40 years old, they are looking for a job. They are looking for a job at 40. You know, why Obasanjo, Murtala Mohammed, they were 30-something when they became head of state, 30-something. But today, Nigerians are 40, so 50 years old Nigerians are looking for a job. They've graduated, they have all the paper. On that lies which they told us when we were growing up, that education is the source is the source of a successful living. They make us believe that the more educated you are, the more you have a better future, the more you have a better lifestyle. But that, again, is a big lie. In Nigeria, right now, we're touts. They are still touts. They're in government. They are making so much money. They rig for government. They are so powerful. Nigeria is a country that is controlled and led by touts. So touts are making more money. People are resigning from as professors to join the ministry of touting. I believe it will not be out of order if we create a ministry that is called the Ministry of Touting Development, because it's touts. Touts have taken over. Touts are taking over. I was having a program some time ago in last week. It was an anti-cult program where we were trying to discourage the issue of cult activities and the rest. And I remember the president of the School of Humanities then looked at me and said, "Sir, everything you have been saying here, they are not correct. Because you keep telling us that violence is not good, violence is not good. But it is the violent men that are controlling the system. I was looking at him because what he was saying was right. But the only thing I could just tell him was that I said, well, I'm surprised that you are reasoning like this. Because if you that is the vice president, you that is the president rather of the School of Humanities in Lagos State University, if you can talk like this, then what will the ordinary tout, the ordinary man in the street who didn't go to school? So we have a situation right now where we have people that even went to school. I know somebody who did mechanical engineering. He's driving Okada. He used to be my neighbor some time ago. He's driving Okada, mechanical engineering. We're still waiting the result. So education is gradually becoming used in Nigeria. Still, we do not appreciate talent. We do not appreciate gifts. We do not appreciate talents. That's why you see those who go to school, they will be struggling to live even with their masters and PhD, while we have touts who didn't go to school. They are already in government. It's a government controlled by touts. So gradually we are beginning to have touts taking over. Touts taking over because as far as the politicians are concerned, they are more interested in who will help them to win election. Okay, or maybe the right word is who will help them to rig election. As long as you have the mechanism to help them to rig election, you are useful to them than you that have PhD, you can't help them to rig election. So the whole idea, the whole thing there is about winning at all costs. It's so shameful and so painful. We look at it. We are living in a country now. For example, we have professors as returning officer for INEC. Professors thinking that when we have there, we have men who will be above board. But we find that being a professor does not guarantee anything. Because some of these people that are helping to rig this election, some of them are professors. They are returning officers. They rig the election and they carry the result and give to the professor to call. So the entire system is completely messed up. The entire system is messed up. Like I said, I don't know, we can't patch it. It's not a system that we can patch. The only thing I know is that we have to destroy the system completely and start to build again. We have to forget about our ideas. We have to build up a good structure. We have to destroy our way of thinking, our way of behavior. It doesn't have to be violent. We don't need to be violent. But we need to change and destroy our way of reasoning. So we can begin. There are too many areas that are faulty. For example, the kind of education they give to us, the British give to us, is the kind of education that is meant for you to be poor. You just keep going to school and going to school. You study history, you just be studying. Those system of education does not reign anymore. As I'm telling you right now, Germany is the greatest economy in Europe. Now the German educational system has everything to do with vocational studies. You have to study your talent. You have to work on your talent. They are not interested of having degrees. What you can do with your hands. That's the kind of education that took Germany to where it is today now as the greatest economy in Europe. And so what we have right now is the British system of education that has not even helped Britain. There was a time that Britain was used to be a major superpower. But as we are talking right now, Britain is living in its old glory. China is far developed than Britain. What are Britain doing? British is just, the British system it has helped to destroy Nigerian economy. Because the British system is of no use. The British system is not productive. It's not creative. It doesn't help our economy. So what we need to do, what we need to have, is a German system of vocational studies. You see, there are many things that have to do with reformation. Our educational system must be reformed. People should go to school to study their talent, what they can do with their hands, what you can create. Not go to school to spend 4 years studying maybe mechanical engineering. And where do you work? There's nowhere to work. I did not even see, we only managed to see a lathe machine that was not working. And for the first 100 years, 200 years, 200 level, you must have been conversant on the use of the lathe machine when it has to do with engineering. But we didn't see it. So everything was in the classroom. They draw the lathe machine in the classroom for you to study. You study the diagram of the lathe machine. Meanwhile, you are supposed to use the lathe machine to begin to produce as a mechanical engineering student. We didn't produce anything. It's all about reading. It's about what you can cram. As long as you can cram and pour down what you can cram, you're already an engineer. So you find a situation where a mechanical engineer in Nigeria cannot compete with a secondary student in China. Because you see, what they do in China, even in primary school, is the area that you want to develop in, the area you have gifting, you work on it. You don't learn how to swim in your parlor. You learn how to swim in the water. If you want to know how to swim, learn how to swim in the water. That's where you learn how to swim. You don't sit in your parlor and they put diagram and they begin to teach you how to swim in the board. You have a blackboard, they draw the river, then they draw you inside the river in the blackboard. There's nothing that comes out of it. So that's our educational system. The School of Engineering is completely useless in all the universities and polytechnics. We have a useless School of Engineering. I have a close friend, it's just like a son, it's a small brother. He just graduated, he's serving now. He told me, he said, look, it's a bros. I've graduated now as an electrical engineer, but I can tell you that I know nothing. I know nothing about engineering. The only thing I know is what I cram to write. Even some of those things I cram, I will forget them. But I'm already a graduate. They've given me certificates. I have first degree. I was looking at him. He said, I don't know anything about electrical engineering. I don't know nothing about it. But I cram. The one I can cram, I cram. The one I cannot cram, I copy. Because one of the things, even right from when I was in school, one of the things the lecturer do, when you give them money, you go to the class, you have 6 questions to answer 5. They will tell you to answer the ones that you can answer. You pay them money, then at the end of the day, after the exam, you will meet the lecturer at home or in his class. Then the remaining 3, he will tell you what to put. So you are going to answer in his room. So if there's 6 questions to answer for, you will just answer one that you know. Submit the blank sheet. Then you go to his house later to complete the rest. That is how we grew from the school. I mean, this is when I'm talking about schooling in the early 90s. Now, if we had this kind of terrible thing going on in our universities in the early 90s, what do you think that will happen now? You go to some houses, you go to some houses of lecturers, you see about 6 girls. One is in the bedroom, the other one is in the guest bedroom, one is cooking, one is sweeping. That's when I know that the girls, they don't fight themselves. They are waiting for their turn. The lecturer sleeps with them one after the other, and so that they can help them to pass. So Nigeria is a disorganized system. We can't develop like this. We are wasting our time. Except something is done, if we continue like this, in the next 200 years, Nigeria will be in one position. The only thing that is surviving us now is corruption. The corruption that goes around, and so we are just eating corruption. And the day the oil will dry, when there's no more money to steal from, that's when we begin to see the effect and feel the real effect of bad governance. And so since 1960 to now, we've been operating bad leadership. It's not just in this government. It's just that we are getting worse, that's all. If not so, bad governance didn't start from now. It is right from the 60s. This stealing has been there. We are not strategic in terms of development. We don't know what we want as a nation. As a nation, we don't really know what we want. We are just living to steal. I can tell you categorically that there's no leader. Since 1999 to now, there's no leader, whether state or the presidency, that will say his hand is clean from corruption. There's no leader. I mean, when they came, they were shouting about Dezani. And the person that was shouting Dezani was former President Muhammadu Buhari and his team. Now, what they finally stole made Dezani look like a child's play. So it is stealing, massive stealing. It's a continuous form of stealing. And Nigeria will not go far. If we continue like this, we will not develop. So we need to sit down and tell ourselves, where do we want to go? And I pray we'll get to that level of leadership. That's my prayer. where we have people who want to, not this kind of reform that is taking place. This is not a reform. This is just trying to be very busy. And I can tell you that very soon we have 4 years of this government. There will be nothing much to that is happening in this country at the moment. We just want to say that it's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, that with the kind of leadership that we expect, wickedness and stealing is the bane of our problem. Imagine if they use it to develop this country, you know where Nigeria will have been. Nigeria will have been by now. We're going to meet again in the evening with Time Out to tell you, David. But at the moment, I want to say subscribe to BHF Movie on YouTube, where you begin to get informations. Also press the notification button. So anytime we are on air, anytime and any moment, because in Nigeria right now, we can't be too certain. You can say we'll be on air by 8 o'clock in the morning, and you find yourself on air by 9, because the power sector is zero. They've invested so much money on the power sector, it's not working. You know, they've stolen the whole money. Even the Obasanjo regime, they spent over 16 billion on power sector, $16 billion. And right now, I mean, if they are giving if they shared that 16 billion to all Nigerians to buy to buy fuel for their generator, or to buy generator and buy enough candle, that would have even helped Nigeria far better than this. So the 16 billion Obasanjo spent in the power sector is in the hand of somebody, it's in their pocket. Until now, nothing have developed. There are people who don't want it to develop because it's the source of their revenue. That's where they make money from. So if it is possible, I would have loved them to ask Obasanjo so they can tell us what happened to the 16 billion which he said he used to reform the power sector. Then Muhammadu Buhari should tell us the billions and billions which he spent on NNPC that is not functioning. On our refineries, it's not functioning. We now managed to have a privately owned refinery owned by Dangote. You know, and it's a sad. We have 4 refineries. The 4 of them are dead. But the private man was able to build up his own refinery. And funny enough, the Dangote, the fuel that comes from Dangote refinery is even more expensive than the one we're importing. When we're importing fuel, we are buying fuel for 500 naira. Now we are producing fuel in Nigeria, we are buying it for almost 1,000 naira. That tells you how crazy the Nigerian system is. Everything about Nigeria is fraud. Everything about this country is fraud. It's lies and lies and lies and lies and deception. Fraud and fraud and fraud and fraud and fraud. When we are refining our crude outside this country, we refine it and bring it to Nigeria. We are buying fuel for 400 naira, 500 naira, 560. And when they say Dangote refinery will soon start, we're happy, thanking God. It might be like 200 naira. Only for the man to start with 1,000 naira. So you see that Nigeria is a joke. Nigeria is a big joke. Nobody take us serious now. That's why the country is where it is now. We just pray that in my lifetime, we'll be able to have a leader that will change the dynamics. And for we to have that kind of leader, he has to offend a lot of people. He has to offend a lot of people. A leader that will make up his mind that, look, I want to stay only one term. But it's going to be one reasonable term. As long as the leader wants to remain in government for a second term, he can't do nothing. He can't do nothing. And I've always been saying that if Nigeria is too big to be governed by one person, there's nothing stopping us from dividing. It's not a crime. There's nothing stopping us from dividing. Let's divide the country to a manageable level where we can be able to manage it. We can devise a means. We can still be answering Nigeria, but each region should have their president. Each region should have their government. The president should just be in charge of the central bank. The president should just be in charge of immigration. But each state, each region should control themselves, control their resources, their economy, everything. We should go back to regional system. Modified regional system of governance is what we need to go back to. That might be able to help us. Because this presidential system that we are doing now, BHF Movie on YouTube. Subscribe to this BH channel so you can be able to get all our programs. And we also have movies there, about 300 movies. You can also watch our movies on this very platform, BHF Movies. Until we meet again in the evening, please, let's continue to pray that God will give us a good leader. And let's not lose hope that things will get better. It's not just praying for things to get better. You work out things to get better. Remember, prayer alone guarantees nothing if you don't work. Prayer without work is a waste of time. The number of churches we have in Nigeria, they are more than the citizens of Sweden. The church we have in Nigeria, they are more than the citizens of Sweden put together. And yet Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. And yet in Sweden, you have more cars than human beings. They have houses that they are looking for people to stay. They are rich economy in Sweden. But Nigeria will have more churches. So if it is prayer that will make a nation to develop, Nigeria will have been the best. But it is not prayer. The churches we have in Nigeria, they are more than the population of Sweden. And yet Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. Until we meet again, take good care of yourself. We just pray that we'll have the right form of leader who is prepared to work. Prepared to work. So people are even saying we should ask for, we should apply so that, we have professional footballers, we have professional basketballers, we have professional wrestlers. Maybe we should look for expatriates. We can apply to China so they can help us and give us a president. Let's loan a president for China for 10 years. For the next 10 years, if we can loan a president from China who will just come and become president for 10 years, help us to get our economy right. Since it looks as if Nigerians cannot govern themselves, it's quite unfortunate. Until we meet again in the evening, please take good care of yourself.